Hey everybody, welcome back to the Everyman's Odyssey podcast, where we explore the challenges and values of authentic living through sharing stories and ideas. I'm your host, Cole McClure. So for this episode, I actually got a chance to sit down and interview and have a conversation with a friend of mine who is my coworker. His name is Jose, and really we've only known each other for as long as we've been working together, so about 8 months now, maybe not even quite that long. But I think during that time we've gotten pretty close. And it was a lot of fun to sit down and have that conversation. I will give you a heads up that the volume is pretty low, so you're probably going to have to turn it up pretty high for this conversation. But if you can stick through that, we had a great time and we really talked about some important things. He's pursuing a career in law enforcement. Hopefully we'll be going to police academy here in the near future. So we spent some time talking about, what that means for him and his family and the people he loves, and, what are some motivations why someone would get into that profession, and what are some of the things that, can make you nervous going into a field like that today. So it was a great conversation, and I'm so grateful that he took the time to come here and do that. And I really hope you enjoy it. Here it is. So, I got a list of questions here, but before we do that, just, I don't know, do like a back of the book cover kind of deal, like just take a couple minutes and tell everybody about yourself.
Ooh, well, not a very interesting person.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Your name?
Jose Cisneros. I was born and raised here in Red Bluff. 23 years old. 23 years young. Yeah, I mean, I would rather you tell me what you want to know about me.
Okay. Anyone special in your life?
Yes. My beautiful girlfriend, Emily. I feel like you don't really... have you guys met?
We just, actually, I don't think we even met. Like, I saw her at the swearing ceremony.
Yeah.
And so I knew that
Yeah,
she
other
was
than
your
you've never
girlfriend.
seen her, huh?
But yeah, and at that point, you and I had
Yeah.
barely even spoken. So yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
we've ever really met.
We'll have to fix that.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been with her for almost 7 years. It'll be 7 years in 2 months.
Whoa.
Yeah. Started dating when we were juniors in high school.
That's when Nicole and I started dating.
Juniors in high school?
Yeah.
What year was that?
It was 2004. December 2004.
Yeah.
So this December will be 20 years that we've been together.
Wow. Yeah. 2016 for me.
Okay.
I graduated 2018 from high school. Time flies.
Yeah. Jeez, dude,
I was just talking about this, and how, to me, I think about high school, and I feel like it was a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like I meet these people through our jobs, and I'm like, when were you born? How old are you? And it's like, oh, I was born in 07, and they're already driving. I'm like,
What the heck?
Like, that is crazy. And it's like, yeah, was born this year, like 05, whatever, and I'm graduating high school. Like, that's a trip.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and it feels like not that long ago to me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Dude, I can't remember why I missed my 10-year reunion, but I think I just didn't really have an interest in going. But now I graduated in 06.
Yeah.
So my 20-year reunion is coming up in a couple of years. I probably still won't go.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. My 10-year reunion is in 4 years.
Yeah.
I have no plans of going, but...
Do you still stay in touch with a lot of people from high school?
with a few, not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Only if like we see each other in public, but I don't really. I guess no one really goes out of their way.
Yeah.
I don't really go out of my way to talk to most of them, and same with them.
Yeah. It was weird, like, graduating in 2006, there was, I don't know, still like a big push for the military at that point. So, like, I thought I was going to join the military. Then I thought I wouldn't. But then, like, after I graduated, a bunch of people at, like, the sober grad party were super stoked. Like, oh, yeah, we're all going to join the army tomorrow. Like, you're crazy. And yeah, that worked out. But, like, I didn't see so many people from high school ever. And then I started working at the Veteran Service Office for Shasta County. And then I would see guys that I went to high school with, like, coming in as clients after they got out of the military. And so I've had more interaction just, like, helping my high school friends, like, file VA disability claims. Like, but I don't know. There's not a lot of people I would really go back to the reunion to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I haven't been to a reunion, but I went to the point in it just to see where we're at.
Right. But if you really wanted to know where someone was at, like, you could just know.
Out.
Yeah, like, I feel like social media almost makes them irrelevant at this point.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, everyone is judging you through social media, just seeing what you've done, what you haven't done, how you are and how you're doing in life.
Yeah, there's no need to even, like, catch up even because oh yeah, I follow you. Like,
did you go into military right after high school?
No. So I graduated June of 2006, got married in May of 2007, and then joined the Army in November 2007. So yeah, over a year afterwards. Because since I was getting married, I was not planning on joining the military anymore.
Yeah.
And then I think I was working so I got fired from Hertz right before I got married over some bull crap. And so I was working at, like, Pizza Hut, just delivering pizzas. And then Nicole was working for a grill out in Bella Vista. And then I got a second job. So I was doing, for a short amount of time, I was doing, like, Pizza Hut and working at C.R. Gibbs. So, like, Pizza Hut in the morning and then C.R. Gibbs at night. And so I did that for a few months before finally just like, okay, this isn't working. So join the Army then. But so, like, the first question I always ask is, like, why would you agree to do the podcast? Because it's kind of a weird concept.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I hate being recorded and seeing myself in videos and pictures, I mean, I hope you know that by me doing this, I mean, it's taken a lot of... I'm going way out of my comfort zone here.
Yeah.
Way out of my comfort zone. But, I mean, I consider you a great friend. I mean, we haven't known each other for very long.
Right.
About 6 months.
Yeah. Crazy as that.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think you're a great person. I've seen most of your podcast episodes, not all of them. But, I mean, I like what you talk about.
Yeah.
I like the positive messages that you give off in these. And I mean, I'm hoping by me doing this, it kind of makes my comfort zone a little bit bigger.
Right.
I hope that we get to talk about things that you wouldn't normally talk about. I mean, sometimes by these, at times, awkward conversations or just not normal conversations, I feel like you can learn a lot.
Yeah.
About yourself, the other person. You know, you talk about things, you get a different perspective. I mean, I've learned a lot from your podcast episodes. One of my favorite ones is one of your recent ones, the failing one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, because I guess everyone fails in some point in their life. But for me, like, it feels like when I fail, I hate it.
Yeah.
It's a terrible feeling. I feel weak. I feel And a lot of people like they use it to their advantage. Like if you fail in something, they use it to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's worked out for me a couple times like that where I failed in this thing. Well, no, I just stand back up, try again. But there's also been those times where you try again and you
It's
fail
even
again.
worse than the first
And
time.
it's like, dude, like you feel so defeated.
Yeah.
So defeated. And to me, I mean, I just don't like to fail. There's been things that I failed at in life. I mean, to some people it may not be serious or whatever, but to me, no matter like how big the deal is or how small the situation is, like I don't like to fail.
Right.
And I try to tell myself, well, if I keep failing, maybe this thing that I'm trying to do isn't for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
My time will come. And you know, at the end of the day, God knows when it's your time.
Right.
Um, so I try to look at it in that way. And watching that episode of yours, I don't know, it just really helped me think of it differently. It made me realize that everyone goes through a failing point in their lives.
Yeah.
It's not just you, you know?
Yeah. And that's like, I don't know. Not that I'm like happy with all of them, but like I'm comfortable and have come to terms with all of my past failings, but like the next one always feels just as crappy as all the other ones. And like, yeah, the only thing you can get better at like dealing with it and learning the lessons faster. But yeah, like failing is never like, oh, that sucked. I'm a miserable person. Hooray. Like, but I don't know. Like, it's just, especially when you talk about like, if you fail repeatedly,
Yeah.
like, what am I doing here? Like,
Yeah.
because I remember there were so many times where it was like, everything I would do just would seem to like not work or fall apart. And I'd question like, okay, is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then at what point, like, where's the line between like perseverance and just like thick-headed stupidity and you don't know when it's time to walk away?
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that can be a big issue with me. When there's something that I want to do, I'm convinced that I have to do it,
Right.
but maybe it's not for me, and I have a hard time like pulling away from it and
Mm-hmm.
not doing it. But yeah, I can be very stubborn in that way.
Yeah.
My girlfriend knows that.
That's funny. It was like, when I called you this morning before you got to work and we were looking for this tool and we don't have it, like trying to install that piece in the car, and the person I'm helping, she's just like trying so hard. She probably spent over an hour like looking for the right equipment to put this into the car. I'm like, hey, we don't have the tool. So, well, I have to do it now. I'm like, okay. So we're running around trying to find the right thing, and not to say anything negative, like, okay, well, that was the wrong thing to do. That's when we should have walked away. But it's just like, I don't know if it is human nature or just a small group of people who are just like, well, this is the thing that's on my agenda. It doesn't matter if I don't even have what it takes to accomplish the task. I'm going to friggin' accomplish it somehow.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just going to sit here and bang my head against the wall until it works. Like,
Yeah. I mean, and that could be a good thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, you're not quitting and you're trying to, no matter how small the situation is, you're trying your best to do that thing that you're committed to.
I would always rather quit too late than quit too soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because I felt that way, even with flight school, it was really hard to stay in to the point that like I was very close to being homeless. Well, like I was making arrangements to live out of my truck with the camper shell and shower at friends' houses, and like thankfully that's not what ended up happening. It was like things just were not working out the way that they were supposed to. Like, am I even supposed to be in flight school? And like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I'm supposed to. I'm here now and I'm going to finish it. And now, like, who knows? Maybe I was supposed to, maybe I wasn't. Like, I'm obviously not using it now,
Yeah.
but not using the certificate as a pilot is different than like not using the things that I've learned. Like, I learned
Mm-hmm.
a lot about myself, I learned a lot
Mm-hmm.
about my marriage. And so, yeah, maybe I was never supposed to be a professional pilot like as a career, but I'm always supposed to learn how to be a better husband, how to be a more persevering and disciplined person.
Yeah.
So if that's just happens to be the circumstance that I was in when I learned it, then I mean it worked out. So
Yeah. I I remember watching this video. I think it was like an interview or something. I can't remember. It was a few years ago, but it talked about like failure in life, and I mean everyone says like, well, yeah, you learn from failure,
mhm.
and that's very true. You know what to do better next time. But I never thought about it this way, where you need failure in life to actually appreciate success.
Right,
Because when you do something and it doesn't go your way, well, now you know what that terrible feeling is.
right,
And so once you do it the right way, you'll really appreciate it. So I mean, you have to feel failure in order to appreciate success.
right.
And but I also think that applies with pretty much everything else in life.
Right. It's just yeah, in general, like you don't appreciate the good without the bad. Like you don't
Yeah,
appreciate the sunshine until you've gone through winter and you've missed
yeah,
it. Like my wife and I were actually just talking about this recently, and I'm not saying that it like should happen, but I was telling like I kind of wish that like at some point everybody had to be poor. Like because
yeah,
some people are just not and good for them, but the lessons that you have to learn in humility and discipline and perseverance are a lot harder to find if you
yeah,
just grow up wealthy. Whereas like, I had a pretty fortunate and easy childhood, but like I've struggled so much and been so poor as an adult for so long. Like even now, like we're not rich by any means and we still struggle with some things, but like just the small sense of like peace and financial stability we have now
yeah,
means so much more and is such a blessing because of how much we've struggled. Like yeah, I wish it was the case that everybody like experienced
hmm
the other side of whatever it is they're comfortable in now, like, because you value everything so much more at that point.
yeah, yeah. That specifically, where like you have to experience bad in life, and I mean sometimes life just sucks,
Right.
and you when it rains it pours, one thing after another. But like once that's over and you get through it, and then life's turning around again, it feels really good. I mean, there's a lot of examples in my life. I mean, I won't get into them, but
You can.
there's a lot of things where like a couple of years ago, um, like work wise, it just I was just very unhappy. I I quit this job. I couldn't find another job. I mean, there were jobs to work at, but
Right.
nothing that I actually felt.
Something you wanted to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because something that I don't like is waking up. "Ah, here we go,
Hmm.
work." I mean, that happened for a very long time, and but yeah, I mean, I couldn't find a job, um, and I had bills to pay, and so this was my bills were stacking up, and my car broke down,
Jeez.
and you just have to, that's a little small example of mine. But then, like, you know, you find the right job.
Mhm.
Like, I think my current job right now is the right job for me. I sometimes wake up and be like, oh, here we go, work.
Mhm.
But once I get to work, I'm actually excited to be there
Yeah.
in this current job. And so, I mean, once you get through that, you find your right job. I mean, life kind of just turns around.
Yeah.
Um, man, life gets really hard sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely relate to that because, like, even in the job that I'm in now, like, I love it, and I definitely believe that it's where I'm supposed to be right now. But it's not at all something that at any point in my life had I ever decided, like, that's the job I want to have. But it's not about, like, necessarily picking the right job, I suppose. Like, I'm still in the general field of where I've wanted to be for a long time, and I'm confident that I'm where I'm supposed to be. Whether or not it's what I would have chosen, I choose the wrong thing all the time. So
Yeah,
I'm confident that I'm where I belong right now, and that's enough.
yeah. There's if it feels right for you. I mean, my current job right now. I mean, I love my current job,
Hmm.
but it's not what I want
Right,
it
it's
to
for
be.
this season,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not what I wanted to do. It's not
Hmm.
like I want to be in this position. Like no, like I want to continue further.
Right,
But like this current job, I'm really happy with it,
yeah,
and it feels right. I'm learning a lot, you know, and you can never learn enough.
yeah. Since you are like pursuing a career in law enforcement, I am curious, like, what are a couple of things that you're most nervous about and a couple of things that you're most excited about? Like, you know, by this time next year, I have every confidence that you're going to be a sworn police officer and you'll be in, an FTO program and not even necessarily like being nervous about like FTO or academy, but like the profession. What are the things that make you most nervous and then things that make you most excited?
I don't know. Something that would make me nervous. I don't even want to say that.
I will skip that. What do
Well, but ugh, even thinking about it, I'm like,
We'll drink a couple more. We'll circle back. See. Well, all right. We'll skip that. Like, what are you most excited about, and what's the thing like when you think about that career? Like, what's like that's what I want to do. That's what I'm signing up
yeah.
for.
To me, well, first of all, I mean, I've always wanted to be in law enforcement.
Yeah.
So what I'm most excited about is to fulfill that goal of mine,
Mm-hmm.
accomplish that. Second, I want to be a police officer here in my hometown, and I want to be able to provide service to, the people that also grew up in this town,
Yeah.
this little small town. But I don't know, like, um, for swearing in for my current position, I was asked, why do I want to work for the Red Bluff Police Department?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't think of like a really nice, fancy answer,
Yeah.
something that would just be like, wow. But it was the truth when I said I just want to serve the town I grew up in.
Yeah.
I would like to make it a safer place. I would like to help with that. Um, because there's just been crazy stuff
Yeah.
going on, and I want to be part of that. Part of that change, at least help.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll change or not. Um, but that's what I'm really excited about. But mainly, ac- accomplishing that goal of mine.
Yeah. No, it's Emily, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you've been with her for 7 years, and you've wanted to do law enforcement for even longer than that. Has she always been like supportive of that, or is that something like she really had to warm up to, or still hasn't? Like,
She's always been supportive about it. She's had in the past like some like concerns about it,
yeah, I'm
just
sure it's
because
scary. Like,
how it can be dangerous. But
yeah,
for the most part, she's been very supportive about it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, she knew that I've always wanted to do it. And then there was a time wherein I completely lost interest in it for a few years.
Oh, right. I think I remember we had talked about
Um,
that in the past, like after 2020, right?
yeah, I completely lost interest in it. It was very, like, my my interest in it was just gone out of from one day to another.
Yeah.
And, like, not that I remember, she didn't really say anything about it, like, oh, like, you should get back into it. No, she also supported me when I said, no, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Um, that was also during a time where I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do.
Right.
But yeah, but then this law enforcement kid came back in, and she was very supportive about it. Um, but, she supports me in a lot of decisions,
Yeah.
and I support her. And I mean, she's really smart. So when she tells me advice or tries to help me, I mean, I listen to her.
Yeah.
I really appreciate her supporting me in all my decisions, especially this one. My dad loves the idea. My
Mm.
mom, not so much.
Too scary for her baby boy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
She's always been scared about it. She's cried about it, but she's what she's most worried about is me dying. like,
That's fair.
like I mean, most moms would be. But I told her one time that if I die while being a cop, like, don't even worry about it, don't cry about it, because
yeah.
I will have died in something that I love.
Right. Yeah, you could pick a perfectly safe, miserable job that you could still die at. You can die anywhere. I mean, there's been shootings at like county employee offices, people just sitting at their desks and people get hit by trucks. Like everything is dangerous at some point, and better to be doing what you love,
Yeah,
making an impact, and feeling like you're comfortable with the risk
yeah,
because of you're doing. Like,
yeah. I mean, I know what I'm getting myself into.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not worried about it at all. But my mom has kind of changed. Um,
As far as like acceptance,
yeah, she knows no matter what she thinks,
it's gonna
it's
happen.
gonna
Yeah.
happen.
So, I mean, I would assume that you would be opposed to this, but what do you think about I don't know if California is one of them, but there are states who have floated the idea of not allowing someone into law enforcement until they're 25 or have a bachelor's degree. I don't understand why the bachelor's degree is a thing, honestly, because they're talking about 25 as the entry mark, because technically that's when like your brain is finished developing. It's like,
Yeah,
so if you get a bachelor's degree at 21 or 22, you're still not all the way there. And so they talk about, personality changes, risk assessment, not even necessarily like response time, but the general feeling of invulnerability or emotional stability that is a risk for people under the age of 25. That's obviously, I mean, I don't think will ever happen, at least not in our lifetimes. Like, because you see, they've lowered ages to join the military to get more people when recruitment times are low. Like, recruitment times for police departments are at an all-time low. Like, I don't see that happening, but how do you feel about, I don't know, is that insulting to you, or do you see where people would try and
um,
make that distinction?
I don't think it's insulting. I don't totally agree with it, but I don't totally disagree with it.
Right.
I do believe that for most people, once you're at 25, you probably think of, if you're put in a scenario, you could probably deal with it better.
Mhm.
But I also feel like everyone kind of matures at a different age.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I feel like I matured pretty young.
Yeah.
but I also I can also see like some people, at least in my perspective, should have waited until they're 25.
Yeah, that's the thing is like if it's something you've wanted for a long time and it's for the right reasons, obviously like being drawn to that profession, there is something different about you. So like there's 21-year-olds that would make great cops, and then there's like 30 and 40-year-olds that just because like oh they have a master's degree and they're mature, like for the love of God, never give that person a gun, like or
Yeah,
authority. Like so yeah, I think the age cutoff maybe, the intentions are right, but I think you're kind of missing the point in that it's the person.
yeah.
Like,
A lot of people, I feel like a lot of young people that become police officers come to it like hot-headed,
mhm.
and so I mean,
I mean, it's just like, military, like, love them. God bless them. It's part of it, but like, we're giving 18-year-olds machine guns,
yeah, yeah,
get them jacked up on like nicotine and energy drinks, and, here's a belt fed machine gun, go spread democracy or whatever. And, obviously, like, there's way more
yeah,
complexity and intricacies to that, but we're talking about teenagers.
yeah.
And
I
so,
mean, you,
like, at least law enforcement, it's older than that. Like,
yeah. I mean, you give this 21-year-old a gun.
mhm,
He he just graduated academy,
mhm,
and I mean, as a police officer, you have authority,
right,
and
you're in
so
charge now. Like,
for a lot of people, I mean, that makes their ego
mhm,
go up, and so they go into these situations just not thinking like, I'm the boss, you listen to me, and then I feel like it can make a situation go downhill very quickly.
right.
Um, but I mean, at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah, and
There's
there's not like a uniform way to compensate for like someone's lack of life experience because someone at their same age may have more and like
yeah,
so you could say like okay well you're fresh out of academy, you're under 25, like here is a list of mandatory training that other people don't have, like because you need to learn some humility and you need to do it in a training environment, not
yeah,
potential lethal force scenario. But it's just such a weird thing to like
yeah. Because if that was that requirement right now to be
mhm,
25, like for my scenario, like I feel like that would be unfair to me.
right.
But and again, it's tricky because there's some people that yeah are probably in the path right now to be in law enforcement under 25, and they probably shouldn't be there.
Right.
But
And then what? Like between 18 and 25, they still have to pay bills and take care of themselves and have a job.
yeah,
So then they have to wait 7 years. Like, okay, now they say that I'm ready. Well, shoot, like I've given so much time into this job. Like now I got to start over.
yeah, yeah, and I've had the opportunity in the past to go into my current job or to um, try out for a sponsorship.
Hmm.
But the reason I never did either is because personally, I felt like I wasn't ready. I looked at this situation, I thought about it, and I'm like, am I ready to do this? Am I ready to do that? And I don't know. Even when I applied for this time, I still had a little bit of doubt.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I went for it. I feel like, let's say the next part.
Okay.
And yeah, and that bachelor's degree part that you mentioned,
Hmm.
I don't get it. I would get it for a higher role within law enforcement.
Right.
I know that not only law enforcement, but jobs in general prefer people with a degree, not for what their degree is in, but just to know that,
The piece of paper saying they finished something.
yeah,
Yeah.
that you stuck through it,
Right.
that you didn't quit. And because going to a university and getting a bachelor's degree, I guess shows that you have the skill of critical thinking.
Yeah. But you also know that, I mean, there's people who are drunk or high out of their mind, either cheating or blowing stuff off or just kind of coasting through. And at the end of it, maybe they don't remember and they didn't actually learn a whole lot, but gosh
Yep.
darn it, they got that piece of paper. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's valuable in the sense that you got to put it on a resume, but is it valuable in the sense of like making that a better person to hold a gun?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's it's a tricky topic
Yeah.
because I mean to rent a car,
Right? You have to be 25.
25. But yeah,
Yeah, right. Well, the next formal question I've got here is who do you look to model like your choices? Like when you look at yourself in like 10 years, like, okay, the man that I want to be like this person.
I thought about this question a lot because you sent me the questions
Yeah.
ahead of time, and I thought about this question a lot. And there's not really one specific person that I look like. I'm like, I want to be just like him.
Well, you were supposed to say it was me, but okay. We'll still let you continue.
I don't want to be like you.
That's smart, man.
And so the question was, I have it right here. Who do I look? Who do you look to model some of your choices? And something that I think about when I had to do a choice, I think about my parents a lot, what they would do, what they wouldn't do, what my mom would do versus what my dad would do.
Yeah.
And I kind of try to find the middle point.
Okay.
Um, because neither of my parents were perfect
Hmm.
or are perfect. Um, I learn a lot from them of what I know, absolutely what I don't want to do, and what I probably should do. Um, I think about them a lot when for my future, like when I have kids,
Yeah.
and when I have a wife. Um, I see the things that my parents in the past have argued about. Something of just things you can't control, like whether it be money issues or whatever, but actions that you were able to control that you could have avoided. I think about it a lot. Like my dad, he's a workaholic, um, and I mean he'd rather work than go on vacation, and like that was a big issue with my mom,
Yeah.
and so like I think about that a lot. Um, and like so I have a little brother, and I remember as a little kid, we went on vacations more than they do now with my little brother. And so like I see the effect it has on him,
Yeah.
and so I think about that a lot. Um, I know what not to do, what to do, um, and like there's just other situations in life that I've come across where I think of other certain people. I had this previous coworker, great guy, and I've in the past I've called him like, "Hey, this is going on. What do you recommend? I need help." And thankfully he's been there for me, and so it's like sometimes I'll try to put myself in his shoes. Okay, well,
Yeah.
what would he do?
Nice.
Um, I mean, there's been a few people that I've met throughout life that I think about a lot, and it's mostly people older than me.
Yeah.
I like to meet people older than me that have been through life, have the experience, they know what they're talking about, I mean, they have great advice, um, but no one specific that I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to be just like him. Because the way I say, like, I want to be my own person,
Yeah.
but I do need help getting there.
Right.
Um, and then, of course, end of the day, I also think about if I do this and if I make this choice, or if I do this other thing, what will God think about me?
Yeah.
Like, what's considered right to Him? How will He judge me in the end? And then that's like that one really gets me thinking because the last thing I want is be judged wrong by Him
Yeah.
and not do something that's not approved by Him. I think about a lot. I think about that a lot too.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty perfect balance because, like, and I think I've talked to other people who've had like similar answers where you don't really want to just like define your own path based off of one other person, like, because, like you said, like everybody's flawed. So the best thing to do is pick what you like about each person and let it blend into how you change your behavior. And then, man, at the end of the day, or even like, I wish I was better about this, like in the moment instead of just kind of like evaluating my day, but thinking about like, okay, what instead of like, oh, what did God think of how I performed today? Or like, okay, I'm going into this scenario. I'm about to talk to this person. Like, how would God speak
Mm-hmm.
before I actually like
Mm-hmm.
before I speak or before I lose my patience, before I do the dumb thing? Like, if I had asked myself that question beforehand, it would probably change a lot of the way I interact with people. I think.
Yeah, and it's not always like that. I mean, in some situations, like, yeah, well, I'll pray about it. Like, I don't know what to do, so I'll pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but other times, in the moment, I just act and do and make the wrong choice.
Right.
And then I think about it, I'm like, oh no, like, I probably should not have done it like that. Like, then that's like, I think about, like, what does God think about that? And, that whole thing, well, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. But I've tried to be better about thinking about it first,
Mm-hmm.
um, cooling down about it, and just thinking about what does God think?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a lot of pressure too. It's like, well, I don't know, but I don't really have time to like sit here, and so that puts the pressure. Like, okay, well, obviously, I need to do better about knowing the answer before I come into the next scenario. But I can't remember if it was. I feel bad that I can't remember who it is. I don't know if it was General Mattis or maybe it was Schwarzkopf. But there is this quote that I like, and he says, "A good plan executed today is better than a perfect plan executed tomorrow." Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're just get it done, like,
Yeah.
because your opportunity and your advantages are running out while you sit here and think about it and try and perfect things. So, like, maybe you'll make a mistake, but now you'll learn that and go into the next one that you can execute again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And now you're just getting better faster instead of torturing yourself over like, man, I don't know, what should I do here, and going back and forth. And not that you shouldn't be seeking counsel or anything like that, but like, yeah, sometimes, especially in a profession where you're making a lot of rapid decisions over and over again, sometimes the stakes are super low and you're like, dang it, I wish I had done that differently. But then, all right. Well, I mean, just going back to failure, like, okay, I screwed it up. I won't screw it up tomorrow. Like, or maybe I will.
Yeah.
I'm a slower learner than maybe I should be. I've screwed up the same thing
Oh,
hundreds of times,
me
but
too.
like, but yeah, it's better to just get it out there and learn the lesson one way or what are some habits that either like maybe there's one of each or maybe there's just one, like a habit that you're wanting to stop or a habit that you can't seem to like get traction and trying to get into a habit of doing.
Mm, I don't know if it's really a habit, but something that I would want to start doing. is having a little more self-confidence.
Yeah.
Sometimes I doubt myself too much, and I think like, oh no, I can't do that. But I know if I try hard enough, I know I can.
Like what? Because you actually like you come across as a pretty confident person. Like,
Thank you. I appreciate that. But in a lot of things, even in my current job, I certain decisions, even getting this job, I wasn't very confident about it.
really?
I I applying for this and then having the interview, I I I thought I blew it.
Really?
Um, but that's just because I'm not confident in myself. I feel like I always try to do. I always try my best in everything, but at
Mm-hmm.
the end, when I'm done, I'm like, I don't think I did my best. I always say, I think I could do better. Um, something like, there's a lot of decision making in our jobs,
Yeah.
and sometimes I ask myself, is this the right thing? Is this the right way? Did I do this right? And I mean, I lack self confidence.
Hmm. So,
Um,
do you feel like there's a thing like, if only I had more experience in this, or if I did this differently, or if I had this character trait, I'd be more confident? Or is it just like universally you're just a critic of yourself, so it's just
I
kind of the
think
way?
I think what it is, it goes back to like the whole failure thing where
Hmm.
I don't like to fail, and so anytime I do anything, I'm thinking about, well, what if I fail? And so then I'm like, oh, did I do this good enough? Is this does this explain it well? You know, because I try to avoid failure, so like I always try to prepare myself enough for a project or whatever it may
Yeah.
be, um, for a job, and I always feel like I don't have enough of whatever I need. Um, and I mean, for this job, dude, go prepare myself. I hate interviews. I I hate interviews.
Yeah.
Um, and so for this job, preparing myself for the interview was I couldn't sleep at night, dude. I was
Really?
preparing myself. I was like, what questions are they gonna ask? I tried writing. Um, I contacted a lot of people that have been in this position before.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, what questions did they ask you?
Mm-hmm.
And they told me. And out of all those questions, they only asked me one of those, and all the other questions were different. And I'm like, I'm screwed. I'm not getting this job. Turns out I did.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, self confidence. That's something I want to have. But at the same time, like maybe it's a good thing that I don't have too much self confidence because then like I know in the end it's working. Like I'm preparing
Right.
myself enough for
Yeah.
certain things.
Yeah, I think it's better to start out, kind of low confidence and be building that over time, because how you're building that is based off of experience and successes, like whether that starts out as failure, but like as you're learning and you're accomplishing more tasks and the things that you're setting out to do, that just naturally comes with the territory. And the inverse of that would be being too confident and just getting wrecked. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
so it's better to build that up slowly than to go the other way to find the balance in reverse.
yeah,
Like, when I was 23, like, I mean, I still struggle with confidence quite a bit now, I think. But man, at that point, like the interviews that I was going to when I was 23 were a train wreck. And then even like having confidence in flight school and confidence going to interviews for the congressional job, was just sweating bullets, losing sleep, grinding my teeth, like. And then that job that interview that I talked about, was it the last episode where I went and interviewed for a recruit position for a police department, and literally like the question was so easy. It's like, hey, just give us your thoughts on the difference between the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. And it's something that I had always thought a lot about. And any day of the week could talk for quite a long time about that. And then I just sat there like, next question. Like, and it's just, I got so nervous. So like, it's just stuff that you, especially like when it comes to interviews, you just have to keep doing it.
And I can't remember what the question was for this job, but I don't know if your interview was like this, but there was a lot of questions where I had like 3 parts to it. And I kept having to say, oh, can you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah.
Can you repeat the question? And it was 3 answers for that one question. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this isn't good. But there was this one question, I can't remember exactly what it was. I started answering it, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, this is not right. I'm like, I stopped, and I'm like, can we restart this question? I'm like, I don't know if I've understood it. And I've never done that in an interview. And I was like, that probably right there, we just blew it. And because in my mind, I'm like, they're probably judging if I'm paying attention or not.
Right, or your ability to communicate effectively.
Yeah, and I'm like, that just went terrible, but yeah, I guess it's normal.
Yeah.
Can you restart the question or this and that? But
I think almost every question, by the time I was done talking, I'm like, I hope that answered your question. If not, we can circle back. Like sometimes I just feel like I blank out and like monologue and then forget what we were talking about.
Yeah, and that happened a lot to me. Yeah, the self-confidence is really an issue for me.
Yeah.
But also,
how do you even work on that? Like, how do you choose to work on that?
On self-confidence?
Yeah. I mean, I guess making yourself uncomfortable and it going well.
Yeah. And like, that's another reason, like, I wanted to do this. Because I hope by doing this, like I said, I have tried telling myself in like decision making, for example, like, this is the way to do it. We're going to do this. And I tried not to think about it and like I stick to it. But at the end of the day, like I go right back to like, well, what good thing will come out of it? What bad thing will come out of it? Is it the right thing? This and that. And I find myself just thinking and thinking and thinking about it. I don't know if it's something I'll ever be able to fix.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just how I am. And I don't mind it now. I've learned to accept it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, it's been working so far.
Right.
But yeah, another thing, something that I do want to get rid of, or habit, a bad habit is laziness. Laziness, dude, it's easy.
Right?
It's so easy. Even sometimes while at work, I mean, I'll just sit in the office for right now, and I feel like, I mean, maybe there are people out there who just don't like being lazy at all. But I feel like for the most part, humans like to be lazy.
Yeah.
Just because it's so easy to do.
Right.
I mean,
well, now we have like every opportunity to enjoy laziness. Like, screens in front of our faces, the whole world at our fingertips. Like, I can just lay here and do nothing and still be entertained.
And I mean, for years, I mean, waking up in the morning, just something that I've done a lot is 10 more minutes, hit the snooze button.
Yeah.
And man, laziness kills. Dude.
Yeah. Every day I've got an alarm set to get up early enough to do like a short but effective little workout in the morning and
Yeah.
maybe do a devotional and like start my day right. And 90% of the time I hit snooze until it's like, okay, well now I absolutely have to get up. Like,
Yeah.
it just sucks. Like,
And I saw this, I read it or I saw a video, I can't remember, but it was saying how apparently there was a study that they did where if you hit snooze on your alarm in the morning, that's pretty much how the rest of your day will go, where you'll feel like lazy and this and that.
yeah.
But if you get up, as much as you'll hate it, if you get up first time that alarm goes off and you get ready and you're ready to go, the rest of your day will feel better. Um, I don't know if that's true or not,
It makes so much sense. Like,
but every day I hit snooze on my alarm.
yeah.
At least once.
I think that's my biggest struggle is laziness when it comes to like my time management and specifically like physical activity and like choosing to do workouts and stuff because the rest of my day is pretty much spoken for. Like
Yeah.
I go to work, like I take care of stuff at home, take care of the kids, like hang out with my wife when I can, and then it's time for bed. So then the only opportunities that I really have, like because any other time that I have available, I'm working on the podcast too. So like my only opportunity to do that and like physically take care of myself is in the morning. And that's when I struggle the most because I don't sleep well. I'm like, man, I need this sleep more than I need this exercise.
Yeah.
And at some point it has to go the other way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's another thing. Like working out. I've recently gotten back into it.
yeah.
Um, and I'd rather work out in the mornings. I don't know, it feels better. But yeah, waking up and thinking about going to the gym, it's like, But I'd rather force myself to do something, for example, going to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm feeling the most lazy.
Mm.
When I'm feeling like the most like, oh, I'll go tomorrow, whatever. I really, really, really try to force myself to go to the gym at that moment because afterwards it feels really good.
Yeah. To know that you like you conquered your laziness and accomplished something instead. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a really good feeling of accomplishment. And not only, but you go do it and you feel good.
Right. I guess so. I don't know if jealous is the right word, but I look at my wife who's been working really hard on her fitness lately, and like she goes to the gym a lot, and if she's like feeling like she doesn't really want to do the workout, like fine, then she's gonna do 2 workouts instead, and so she got a tattoo today. She's getting ready to go to the gym, and then she remembered that her tattoo artist is like, hey, no workouts for 24 hours as part of like the care for the tattoo, and she was really bummed out about it. And for me, I was like, sweet, I've got an excuse. Like, oh no, I can't go to the gym. It's like, man, I wish I had that mentality where I was like upset with not being able to do the workout instead of constantly looking for the reason not to. I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm making very minimal improvements to that, where it's like, okay, I only hit the snooze twice this morning, so I can run upstairs and throw some kettlebells around for a little bit. Like, but it's so hard for me to be good at that. I think like, you know, in the military it was easy because you had a legal obligation to be in shape, and and basically anytime I've been separated from my family, I get into really good shape. Like in the Army, I was in really good shape, obviously, and then like when I've had to, you know, I took that contracting job in the Bay Area for PG&E, I got in really good shape again. When I was living in Oregon while my wife was still in California, I got into better shape because I have so much extra time on my hands. In Oregon, not quite as much because I got into Skyrim and I chose Skyrim over physical fitness. But the other times, like, oh, well, I'll just fill my time with working out. But like,
Yeah.
it's so hard to have things and people in your life that you want to spend time with and choose something else instead.
Yeah, but I'm really trying to work on my laziness.
Yeah.
Specifically me with working out.
Yeah.
That's a struggle, and like I really want to push myself to whatever it may be, go to the gym or go on a walk or whatever it may be. And I recently, one of my favorite brands is Nike. And Nike's whole thing is like just
do it.
Just do it. But I saw this picture, like one of their quotes. It said, "Yesterday you said tomorrow," and like that is so true. And I'm like, oh, you're making me feel
right. I gotta go do yesterday's workout that I didn't do.
But it's so true. I mean, and it makes me feel terrible. Like yesterday I did say tomorrow, and you just keep saying that. It's at some point that tomorrow has to start. And so I actually have it on one of my screensavers that yesterday you said tomorrow.
Yeah.
To like in the morning I look at it and I'm like, I'm getting up, I'm going.
Nice.
And it's you go to the gym in the morning when you don't want to, and it feels great. And I think I've always said you never regret going,
right?
But you always regret not going.
Yeah.
Because when you're thinking about it and then your laziness beats you and you don't go, an hour later or so, you're like, I would have been done by now.
Yeah.
And like, what am I doing?
What have I done instead? Yeah. Yeah, I think about that a lot, and I think like it really shouldn't take accountability from like somebody else harassing you. But man, like I think that's when I've done the best, other than like I said, when I'm separated and I've got nothing else to do with my time. Like, but when it's just me, like my wife wants me to be healthy and she wants me to feel good about myself, so she wants me to work out, but I don't know that I want her to be my accountability. Like,
yeah.
And so it's just, and even at that point, like even if she were, or if I had somebody like, hey, text me in the morning, make sure I'm going to the gym, like at some point, like you have to find that within yourself. And I struggle. Like, it's tough for me to just care about my own well-being enough to go do it. And even beyond that, it's not even about like just my own well-being. Like if I were in better shape, I'd be better at my job. I'd be a healthier person. Like I wouldn't have the same amount of pain that I have. Like I'd be a better protector for my wife and children. Like, but it's, like, man, laziness is just like a demon that can just rationalize me into anything. And like,
it's just so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
So, and we have talked about like, there's been times where you felt like, oh no, I couldn't do that. And so this question kind of digs it a little deeper into that. It's like, what's something that you've gone through or like a mistake that you've made where you felt like that put you at a crossroads? You're like, well, shoot, like I can't overcome that, or now I can't be the person that I wanted to be because this happened to me, or I did this. Like, is there something where you felt like my potential has been lowered because of this, and then how do you get past that?
Give me a minute.
All right. So, like, I mean, for me, for example, is like the most recent one and like the easiest one to literally like tie that to for me would be the injury that I had at the last department I worked for. It was like, I was a month and a half away from starting police academy, and then had this injury that just completely destroyed that dream. Like, to the point that like, by the time I feel comfortable with that being a possibility, maybe it's too late. Maybe I'm too old, or like, and it just had to shift my perspective. It was like, because like I said, it was like a 2-year recovery because it got re-injured right after the first recovery.
Yeah.
And so that's something where it's like, that wasn't necessarily a mistake on my part, but like that's something that happened. I'm like, okay, well now maybe I can't even be the man that I wanted to be or thought that I could be. So then what do you do with that? Like, okay, well, and I floundered and flopped around and made all kinds of mistakes for a really long time and hung out in very low places when I shouldn't have. And but now it's just like, okay, maybe it'll never look the way that I thought it was going to look. But nothing in my eyes, like nothing stops me from being the man that I'm supposed to be. It just looks a different way. And so I don't know, and it doesn't always have to be like that significant where it's like, oh yeah, a life altering injury that like couldn't walk for, so long. It was like, but I don't know, at least in my perspective, there's like something, even little things that make you question, like, oh, maybe I'm not who I thought I was, or I can't be who I thought I was gonna be.
Use that. I don't like talking about it, but
Can't
like,
force you.
but I don't like talking about it, not because I don't like talking about it because like I've said, like I don't like failure, and so like it reminds me of this, and but I feel like it's good to talk about, because if you just hide your issues, hide your problems, and never talk about them, you'll never learn.
Yeah.
But there's a few things that come to mind. Actually, a big issue, failure thing in my life has been school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've tried going to college. I, I from high school, I went straight into a 4-year university. Didn't work out the way I wanted it to. This was 2018, 2019. Some classes were like cool, like I enjoy these.
Mm-hmm.
Other classes, not so much. Um, and so I kind of gave up
Mm-hmm.
on school. Like, I don't know. I loved high school. I've always loved school, but something about college just felt way different. And I don't know, like it felt easier in college to just it felt easier to fail in college.
Yeah.
Um, and then like after that, I was still I was still enrolled in school, but I wasn't going to my classes at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got these, like I would see like my grades obviously were just terrible, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, and like that made me feel terrible. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I failed, like so. After that, I wanted to go back to school, but I wanted to go to a community college. One, because going straight to a 4-year was crazy expensive. um, and two, I was like, maybe I should start community college. It can't be much different from high school, so maybe I should go there. I enrolled in Shasta College, but it was after COVID, and so everything was online. And for me to learn, I'm a hands-on learner,
Yeah.
and so reading things online, these just like straight out of the textbook work,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't learning, um, and I couldn't organize my life really with work and school, and I just couldn't find the perfect combo for those two to just have it work it out. And I felt like work was more important, so I
Mm-hmm.
failed again. I went enrolled back into college.
Oh.
I went back, and I was taking this time like 2 classes at a time. I did okay, but then again, this time like I passed my classes, but I'm like I don't know, like, and I just wasn't drawn to it. I just
Yeah.
didn't want to do it, and like I consider that like I failed again because I didn't go all the way through with it again. Um, and so that got me to think like, well, shoot, like I don't have a degree in anything. How is this going to shape my future? Because in most job professions, if you want to promote and promote and promote,
Right.
you need nowadays you
At some level, you have to have a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think about it a lot. I think about it a lot. I do want to go back. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
And I want to find that perfect balance. I will. I want to be able to balance work and school. Right? I find it really difficult for me.
Do you think wanting to go back is that because you want the degree and you like a certain topic, or it's for professional development, or is it just as much or more so like to kind of not erase, but really like, I don't know, it's no longer a failure. I've done the thing that I failed at before, like I'm good.
Yeah, I want to go back to it so that I know that I won
Yeah.
and that I was failing, but not anymore. Like, because there's really not a specific thing I really want to go. Like, I don't know what I want to do in college. I just know I want a degree
Yeah.
in something to say that, yeah, I have a college degree.
Right.
But mainly just to prove myself, really.
All right, college didn't beat you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that eats me up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we had talked about this a little bit before. But like, you're still very early on, like to not have the degree at 20, and I don't mean that at all in like a degrading or demeaning way. Like, man, I don't know. We've talked about it a lot. Like, time goes by really fast, and like you feel like you don't have the time, especially if you're wanting to set things up for your future. There's certain things that you have to have in place now, but then the opposite is also somehow simultaneously true, where like you do have so much time. Like, if you want it to prove to yourself, like, let's just say, optimistically, you live to be 100. You are 23% of the way through your life. Like, you have so much left to do and grow and accomplish to like, it's okay to not have that one just yet. And then if it's for professional development, like, you were still years away from a supervisory role where it's like, hey, we need this. So it's like, I think I even said this to you before, like, you haven't even failed yet. Like, it feels like a failure because you don't have the paper and other people do, and you literally, maybe, I don't know if you did like literally fail a class.
Yeah.
It's like, that is a literal failure when you fail the course, but like from a life perspective, like, you failed. Like, I don't know. It's like, I haven't failed at raising my kids. I'm still doing it. Like, like, and I have absolutely failed on certain days and in certain capacities, but like, I'm still in the process. So, like, I still have a lot of time left with them to accomplish those things.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I think sometimes failure just looks like this monster, but it's all about like your perspective on the timing. Like, the chapter's not closed. I'm like, I'm not done.
Yeah.
Like,
And I've talked about this with my girlfriend too, how really there's no age limit
Right.
for college. Like, I mean, you could always be learning.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know, just for some reason my mind is just stuck in that time is running out. Time
Right.
is running out. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think it's a fast-paced world that we live in. So then it does feel like expectations are getting higher and cost of living is getting higher, and all these things are like racing past you faster than like you can possibly progress. So it feels like you're always losing more time than you were ever afforded
Yeah.
in some ways. So it makes sense to feel like, yeah, like the pressure's on. And like you said, for your case, wanting to be in a supervisory role someday, like you don't want to be finishing your AA in your 40s because you are hopefully already, a sergeant by then,
Yeah.
or whatever it is you choose to pursue. But like, I don't know. I sometimes that fear of failure is a fantastic motivational tool, but then sometimes it just serves as blinders, like keeping you from seeing everything that you are, everything that like is around you, and keeps you from doing other things that you actually would be really good at, and
Mm-hmm.
and you could accomplish with or without the other thing, like, and
Mm-hmm.
there isn't a time limit on that. And so it can be, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. But
Yeah. My girlfriend, we were kind of in the same boat with school and stuff. I mean, she recently, while having a full-time job in a management position,
mhm.
was able to do full-time school and just balance it perfectly. And I'm like that's awesome for her.
Yeah.
She's super smart, but I don't know, like I can't do it. I say I can't do it, but maybe I just don't want to yet. I don't know. I don't know what it is because I start school now and I just currently I'm like I don't really want to do this.
Mhm.
And then it kind of goes back to me being lazy and I procrastinate.
Yeah.
There will be assignments that like you get them within like a week's notice. Oh, this is due next week at this time.
Right.
I will wait until the day before or day of
Right.
to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm kind of like screwing myself over here.
Right.
But
Well, I think there's a reason that like she's better than you at those things. Like, for one, she's a woman, naturally better at multitasking, I feel like.
yes.
And like a good man that finds a good woman is going to be with a woman who's better than him at so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had actually talked about that like a long time ago in shoot, I don't know, the episode about like being a better husband,
Mm-hmm.
and I talked about like who 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 God created woman to be, and what she is, and not necessarily in comparison to a man, but like showing like God recognizing that man's not handling things well and needs somebody to save him from himself. Like that type of person is by default going to be somebody who excels in the areas that you're weak in. And
Yeah.
like part of that's really hard because it really highlights your weaknesses and throws it in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, with my wife's attitude on the gym and her ability to plan things and so many other things in life that like I'm just garbage at, like just constantly reminding of all of my inadequacies. But like, what if that wasn't there? And what if we both just sucked at the same things and were great at the same things? And then
Yeah.
it's like, what's the point there? So like, I think that's a really good thing that like maybe she's a better student than you or was able to excel at the things that you're kind of beating yourself up
Mm-hmm.
over. Like, if nothing else, that's encouraging to know that like I'm in a dynamic relationship that complements me
Mm-hmm.
and completes me in areas that I need. Like, so if nothing else, like it's good to recognize that, and you wouldn't recognize it if you didn't have any of those
Yeah.
weaknesses.
But I do plan on going back to school.
Yeah,
And I know that eventually I will accomplish it and I
yeah,
will succeed. And that it'll just feel a lot better than if I did it now. If I
right. I mean, shoot, yeah, you take one class at a time for as long as it takes, and eventually you get there. Like, yeah, last thing. So, is there a question that you have for me about like anything that we've talked about?
I kind of want to know about you when you find yourself in a, and it can be like whenever you find yourself in a difficult situation or a previous really difficult situation. Like, who do you turn to? Like, how do you deal with it? Like I don't know what like one of your that you consider like something that you failed in life, but like how do you deal with it? Who do you turn to? Who do you talk to most?
Honestly, who I talk to most is probably my wife. I definitely talk to God a lot, but I'm really bad at listening to God. So, so many of the times that I've struggled in the past, like if I'm talking to God, it's this like really cathartic experience and like, oh, I need to get this all off my chest and I'm so worried. And I'll even be asking God questions like, oh, give me wisdom or do this or tell me how to do this or I don't know what to do here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say amen, go out and do the rest of my day and wait for the answer to fall in my lap, which is a super rude way to have a conversation with someone and not effective at all. And I'm learning recently that that's stupid. Um, but I always want to do the right thing. And so like that's who I turn to first.
Mm-hmm.
But I get so nervous about failing, about hearing the wrong thing or not hearing anything that I'm even hesitant to hear the answer if there is one. Like, but my wife is a very smart, intuitive person who actually like thinks through things a lot more completely than I do. Um, so I lean on her a lot. Like, and so if I'm spiraling or find myself in a bad place, or if I have to make a decision that I don't understand, I will like try and figure that out and like just intentionally slow my thinking down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and before I shoot off into like the multiverse of all possible decisions I could possibly make and all the outcomes, just like think through really slowly and try and figure out like the best. And in most cases, morality plays into it. Like, okay, like what's the right thing to do? And if there's one thing that's right and one thing that's wrong, then it's clear. Like, I'll just do the right thing. But if it's this, as most of life is, like this gray area was like, I don't really know what's right and neither option is really wrong. I'm just stuck. Then I do want to hear from God because I don't want to go to my wife like completely empty handed and having no idea what's going on. Um, but if I got nothing, like the most important thing is to just be humble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I struggled with that a lot. Like in the phase where I had this business with my dad and we just didn't have any work, but I'm not looking for other full-time work because I want to keep my schedule open for when this business picks up. And
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile, like we can't pay any of our bills. Like we're not eating like we should be. We're not taking care of our family or our kids like we should be. Can't fulfill any of our obligations because I don't have employment. But I'm not seeking it because I want this to work out better. And I did a terrible job of managing that whole season of my life. And my wife very lovingly and patiently like approached me multiple times. Um, but there came points, and that's just one example. There's been plenty of times where I just have to like be humble, swallow my pride, and be like, babe, I got nothing. Like, I know that it is my job to take care of this family, and I am at a complete loss. Like,
Yeah.
I've always tried to do the right thing. I have absolutely no clue what it is anymore. And it's not even like I'm not trying, but I don't even know where to put my next foot. And then you just kind of gotta, that's really hard for me. Not because I'm a super prideful person. I probably am, but I don't see it that way, I guess. But I just want so badly to be the solution, the problem solver, and nobody to have to worry about anything because I got it. And so to reach that point where like I don't got it anymore.
Do you feel that way? Do you feel like you need to be that within your family or in general?
Especially for my family, but probably in life in general for everybody that comes into my life. I want to be the person who, and it's really hard. Like if I hear somebody talking about a problem, I immediately go into problem solving
Yeah.
mode. And so it's a good thing in some applications. But I think sometimes it makes me a poor listener because as soon as I hear the problem, my wheels are turning and I just need to shut up and keep hearing
Yeah.
more stuff. And um, I don't really feel like it's ever brought me to a point of like burnout at all, but that's probably because I haven't ever had a job long enough to burn out on. Like, but it does get like not even exhausting. I don't know, maybe a little overwhelming. Um, to feel like everybody's problems are my problems. Um, and I'm still not sure if I'm right or not on that. Like because I'm very very blessed in like the love that I have in my marriage and in the that sounds prideful too, like the understanding that I have like my relationship with God isn't even like the best that it's ever been, and I don't claim to be like so wise and I've learned so much, but it's like I have so much peace that I have the capacity to like take on more problems. And if I'm running out of my own problems, even though I'm not solving them all right now, like I just keep taking on more because I want to be that guy. Like
Yeah.
which for wanting to be that guy, you'd think I'd be better at it, but I think I'd lean on my wife a lot. Like to go back to what your actual
Yeah.
question was, like I I think the most important thing is to be humble and to communicate honestly. Whoever that is in your life that you lean on, like you just got to speak up
Yeah.
before you really screw things up and drive over a cliff and then apologize on the way down. Like, well, do you want to circle back to that other one?
Oh, the something that makes me nervous.
Well, I guess we actually kind of covered that, huh?
Yeah. Something that makes me nervous though is being stuck in a situation where I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Whatever the scenario may be. But I'm scared of being stuck in a situation where the situation makes me freeze and I
Mm-hmm.
just can't. I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Um, and there's a few that come to mind that could probably make me feel that way. Because you have to consider your own safety and safety of others,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes the action that may be required isn't what you want to do,
Right.
but it's what you have to do just for everyone's safety. And so, yeah, something that makes me nervous is being caught in a situation where just I freeze.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes me emotional thing about it. It's like I remember being terrified. Like I was never put in an environment where I had to make that decision. Don't have that experience, and I was never like combat arms. I was just working my way towards, like you start a door gunner, crew chief, and go from there. But like, I thought a lot. Like, what if I don't pull the trigger?
Yeah.
Like, what if I don't pull the trigger and my friends die?
Mm-hmm.
Like, like I let that person live, and maybe they don't even continue. Like they lived long enough, and now my friend's dead. Like,
Mm-hmm.
man, that tore me up all the time. Like, because like yeah, like it's like I don't want to do that. I don't want to pull the trigger. Like, I don't want people to die. Like, what if I freeze? Like, and it's not even about like freeze forever. Like, what if I freeze just long enough that it really fucking matters?
Could be a 5 seconds, and
yeah,
5 seconds makes the biggest difference.
yeah,
I really pray to never be caught in a situation like that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you can't let it like eat you up, but you also can't not think about it. Because like if you don't, like either you are absolutely going to freeze, or you're so scared of freezing that you refuse to take any time and you pull the trigger when you sure as hell shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's heavy.
Yeah, that's something that I've always thought about, and there's a very specific scenario that runs through my head. I've never experienced it, but just imagine, what if this scenario happened, and like I know that scenario is capable of just making me freeze and not react to it. But I know that I just need to have the courage to follow through. I know what's right to do. I just need to have the strength to do it.
Yeah. All right. So sorry if that was a bit of an abrupt ending. That's where we're going to cut it off here. After that, we kind of go into some more specific issues at work that we're not going to discuss here on the podcast just yet. So hopefully the volume worked out for everybody. I know we got some changes we're going to make here in the recording setup, so hopefully that's going to improve over time. But let me know what you think about the episode, and if you have any questions or concerns about some of the stuff that we discussed, as always, feel free to reach out. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care.